does not have to be like a formal mentor program. Take advantage of the people that have been in the workforce for a long time. I think that they would be honored to have a mentoring relationship with you. And if that's not even in your organization, it could be even a family friend or somebody that you connect through a common organization. For me, I'm a part of the local HR chapter, and I could reach out to somebody there. But it doesn't even have to be somebody in your same field, because the soft skills go across all fields.
Welcome to the Work Awesome Podcast. This is episode 13, I believe. Yes, 13. Are soft skills important in 2020? So today I have Sarah and Elise with me to talk about this very important topic. We think about like hard skills, which are like things we learn in college, and then soft skills, I'll explain the definition a little bit later, but there is a difference and they're both very important. I just think that sometimes we don't talk about soft skills as much as we talk about the things that we are professional or experts at and have learned along the way. So in this episode, like I said, we'll talk about what the heck a soft skill is and explore the world of soft skills and understand why it's important in today's business world. Before we dive too much further into it, I do want to say, if you aren't subscribed on YouTube yet, please subscribe. It'll send a notification to your inbox when new videos go up. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or Google Podcast, follow on whatever platform you're listening on, again, so you get a notification for when new episodes go live every Tuesday. So now let's jump into the topic. I didn't plan any kind of icebreakers, so let's do like, what's your favorite soft skill? As I was reading through those articles that I sent beforehand, creativity for me jumped out just because I'm a very creative person. Creativity is in my job very often because of the type of stuff that we produce and create. So that one is always a big one for me. Sarah, at least, do you have a favorite soft skill that you want to quickly talk about?
I love critical thinking, because when you work with employees that struggle with that, it can be very frustrating. And when you work with employees that are really good critical thinkers, it's kind of liberating, and you just build a better trust relationship with them, because you know that they can problem solve, think outside the box, and kind of elevate certain tasks. So that's my favorite.
I think that's a really good one, at least. That's probably my favorite critical thinking skill. They're so important. I think that they can help you in everything you do, whether it's at work or in your private life. And I think that when you're working on a team and collaborating with people who have great critical thinking skills, you can really learn so much and come up with some brilliant ideas.
Yeah, I definitely like both of those, and we'll talk about more later. But first, before, again, we dive too much deeper into it, I do want to go over just the definition of a soft skill. Soft skills are the Soft skills are the more intangible and non-technical abilities that are sought from candidates. For example, communication, teamwork, problem solving, leadership, responsibility. It's things that you learn along the way, but you aren't exactly taking courses in any of these in college. Soft skills are sometimes referred to as transferable skills or professional skills. This term applies that these skills are less specialized, less rooted in specific vocations, and more aligned with the general disposition and personality of a candidate. So we talked about favorite soft skills already. I guess the first question I have for you guys, do you think soft skills are important in 2020? And I guess more specifically, are they becoming more important as we're moving to this virtual world, and how you see soft skills playing in a virtual environment, I guess? There was a lot of questions in there, so if you need me to reiterate, I will.
I think soft skills are important in any environment. We've always needed them, but I think, to your point with going virtual, I think the importance is the same. However, we're having to adapt to new kind of ways to carry forward the skills. So for example, communication. You can't just pop next door to run things by another team member in this environment. Most of us are virtual. teleworking. So we need to learn to use these new tools, to use Teams, to send messages, text messages, whatever works. We know that email can be a little bit slower and it's not the best form of communication, especially in the virtual world, because people's email boxes get backlogged. So just understanding what new tools are available to us and utilizing that, super important. And then because of the stress level of the pandemic environment, I think the people that can bring like leadership skills, innovation, certain other soft skills, it's just gonna, like, now's the time to shine, because we need leadership more than we ever did. We need to be innovative because of the roadblocks we have. So I think they are very important in adapting to new ones during this pandemic kind of time.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head there. Communication is a tricky one right now, because not only because we're virtually, but because we are virtual now, it's allowed us to work basically whenever we want throughout the day. So as long as we're putting our 8 hours in and getting our jobs done, at Avian at least, we're really flexible about when we work, which can be interesting for communication, because if you're on a team where you have multiple people and one person is working in the regular 9 to 5 shift, but other people are working maybe split shifts where they're working a little bit in the morning and a little bit at night, communication, obviously if you're at night, you might not get that immediate response that you're looking for. So I definitely think that just kind of learning about what different types of communication styles are, and actually a soft skill that goes along with this is flexibility. So being flexible and understanding that everyone is working at those different times right now is super important.
Definitely, Ian. And I think both you and Elise hit on some of the key terms of 2020, flexibility and adaptability. It's just so important because we're all managing things that we haven't had to manage maybe at the same time, and different changing working environments. So those soft skills are very important, but maybe we're using them a little bit differently. And this is where many times the adaptability, the flexibility, the critical thinking can really come into play. And you have an opportunity to work in an environment that's different, but that doesn't mean that you can't be super successful at it if you are open-minded about flexibility, adaptability, and figuring out how to work. I think collaboratively in this environment does take a great deal of soft skills.
Yes, absolutely. The other one that kind of goes along with communication and flexibility is collaboration. You mentioned adaptability, which is a big one. Changing your mindset a little bit. The other question I have, I guess, to go along with the icebreaker, are there other top soft skills that you think are important for candidates to showcase? And we'll talk later about how they can showcase those skills in like an interview environment. But are there any other, like your top 3, I guess? So add 2 more to that one that you already gave me at the beginning.
Well, I think emotional intelligence is one of the things that I really think of when I'm thinking about soft skills. As you mentioned, Ian, there are all kinds of things that you can learn in a classroom environment. I actually do think that some of the emotional intelligence, some of those things can be picked up. And especially if you're aware that you have some things that you need to strengthen, looking at the people that you really think are very strong in that area can definitely be, I think that can help you improve. So I would say emotional intelligence, and I would say that really helps with collaboration, especially in working in our environment today. You have to do a lot of different types of collaboration in different ways. It's not like we're all sitting in a conference room with a whiteboard right now.
Right.
So I think right now those would be my top 3.
With emotional intelligence, I would just add to that, just again with this virtual environment, we're sending a lot of different kinds of communication and we're not having as much in-person interaction. So it's very easy for people to get like upset with each other, and just understanding what's going on or what could be going on in people's specific situations to maybe know where they're coming from and be patient with them. So just, understanding that there could be things going on in the background, and when people are giving you like quick, short answers, not to take that personally, just to understand, have that extra layer of understanding as we are working and getting through this environment.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's still something very valuable in like a phone call or a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting, because like you said, those short text messages might come across in almost a rude manner. But that's probably, knowing like your teammates, that's probably not the way that they mean it. It just might be that they're dealing with their 5-year-old or doing something else. So text messages and text and Teams and whatever platform your company uses can be dangerous, but go ahead.
Even going to virtual meetings, some people are able to turn their cameras on, which is ideal because you can have a better connection. But other people are working in bad Wi-Fi environments with their kids in the background, pets jumping through the screen. So for some people, they can't always have their screens on, which again, to your point, making those phone calls afterwards or in times when you can do that, just to strengthen those connections. But on the other hand, just that extra level of understanding that employees are in different situations, and they may not be able to have their screens on, or they may keep on mute because there's too much commotion in the background. This is a special environment that we're working through.
Yeah, absolutely. So the two that I want to add, one is decisiveness. So being able to make a decision. There's a lot of people that have anxiety over making decisions, but when it comes down to it, being able to make a decision, maybe not on the spot, but after you think through whatever the problem that you're trying to solve is, being able to make a quick and actionable decision is important. And then the other one is growth mindset. So the ability to continuously learn, continuously adapt, and like we've already been talking about, the environment that we're in, we've all had to have this growth mindset of learning new tools and figuring out how to communicate and learning emotional intelligence and all of that other stuff that we've already been talking about.
Yeah, and Ian, one of the things that I would say too is kind of building off of that decisiveness. Part of working in a team environment, and I would say this is probably a part of a soft skill maybe, but is when maybe if a decision's made that wasn't your decision and it wasn't one that you were 100% in agreement with, but now that decision has been made for your organization, you're going to go with it, and you're going to make sure that you're trying to make that as successful as possible, even if it's maybe not what you would have selected. So I think that's an important part of collaboration and emotional intelligence, making sure that, yes, you can make decisions, but when decisions are made that aren't yours, that you're moving on now too.
Sarah, I would say that feeds right into the growth mindset, because as soon as that decision is made and you make the choice for yourself, no matter what your position is, to go forward with it and be a team player, that speaks volumes to the leadership teams of how they can see that you're adaptable, and especially if you voice okay, my opinion is A, and then we end up going with B. When they see you jump on board and be a part of the team, that speaks volumes to the leadership, to your bosses, and to your whole team. And it also sets a precedence. If you have a positive attitude, especially if you're in a leadership position, your team is going to pick up on that and follow along with that positive attitude. And they'll kind of just be like, okay, well, I see we're going with B, and Sarah's on board, so I'm on board too.
Well, and in the work environment, a win is a win for the team and for the company. So it's not about each individual participant. It's really about making sure that you're doing what's best for your work environment, for your organization.
Yeah, and I think the one that goes in hand with this is persuasion. So knowing I guess if you personally have an idea that you want your boss to make a decision on, knowing what's going to back up that idea and persuade them, being your own devil's advocate. So kind of before you present it to your supervisor or your boss, knowing what they might say, knowing what they might ask for ahead of time, really will help them make decisions and help you be a little bit more persuasive.
Yeah, I don't think if you're going to take something that you are trying to persuade your boss to, never go in with the mindset of because I said so.
Right. Yeah.
You need to have a lot more support to it. Do some research, give some data points and some facts and numbers behind it. Leadership loves that. Show them why this is the way you want to go.
Yeah. The next question I have, how can somebody improve on their soft skills? In a couple of episodes, we're going to be talking about places that you can learn online. So I definitely think online is a great place to start. Is there any other way that you guys can think of available resources or training that people can do to improve their soft skills?
Absolutely. I guess I'll start with this one. But one that comes right to mind is mentoring, and it does not have to be like a formal mentor program. Take advantage of the people that have been in the workforce for a long time. I think that they would be honored to have a mentoring relationship with you. And if that's not even in your organization, it could be even a family friend or somebody that you connect through a common organization. For me, I'm a part of the local HR chapter, and I could reach out to somebody there. But it doesn't even have to be somebody in your same field, because the soft skills go across all fields. And I think that's especially important if you're newer to the workforce, because you haven't been exposed to as many of the soft skills perhaps. So mentorship can be huge, and it doesn't have to be formal. Just ask somebody that you know. Could just meet up for coffee and kind of do some research on soft skills and throw out a couple of those words, emotional intelligence, things like that, and see what your mentor thinks of them. And then I would say, in addition to that, you mentioned online resources. Of course, there's tons of great literature out there. Just even emotional intelligence is a huge topic that you can get books on. You can look up different learning resources online. So just understanding what soft skills are, then you become more aware of them. Listening to this podcast, like now you know some soft skills, you're going to be more aware. You're going to think of those as you're moving forward in your career, and some of them will develop naturally as well, especially if you have awareness.
At the college level, I think career centers, my college had a career center, and I think that's super valuable. I know that I could walk in at any time with an appointment, of course, and get really great insights from the people that worked in that career center. Internships, so that you're in college and it's your first internship, your boss is going to understand that you might not have the soft skills that they desire right away, but internships will help you develop those soft skills and learn in a professional environment.
Even volunteer positions would do that, and there's so many opportunities. I mean, right now it's a little challenging, but even if you can probably even do it in a virtual environment. I know many churches are still operating. Daycare centers, I don't know, I'm sure there's tons of opportunity out there. And just by being in that volunteer position, you're going to be attending meetings maybe. There's opportunities for growth right there.
Yeah. Any more? Sarah, do you have anything?
I think both between the two of you, I think you've covered some great ideas, some great resources. And, as I mentioned before, really, I think observing your environment and really looking at, you're in a situation, you see someone who handled it really beautifully, just taking note of that and, really sitting down and thinking about how they worked through it and what you liked about it. And maybe situations that didn't work out so well, thinking about what could have been differently and how the outcome could have been changed. So I think that soft skills are definitely an evolutionary, skill set. And I think the more you are exposed to people and to working environments, even going to stores, things like that, the the better able you are to pick those up.
Yeah, absolutely. So this next question I have kind of feeds back into that previous question. You're in an interview. How can somebody demonstrate that they have the soft skills that you're looking for? Is it just a matter of putting it on the resume, or is there maybe examples that they can present during the interview? What's the best way to go about that?
So I actually think that probably soft skills are a lot of what shines during an interview.
Okay.
The way that questions are answered, the way that the interacting between the interviewee and the interviewer, from the time that you walk into the building and you're interacting with the staff, maybe signing into the building, all of those steps are using soft skills. And even when you're first talking to a recruiter or managing your calendar, those kinds of things, how well you're preparing for the interview, the critical thinking, like I mentioned, that's going on during the process, including asking your own questions, which we've talked about in past podcasts as well. So I actually think that the soft skills are definitely on display during an interview. And I would say even during a virtual interview as well, making sure I've had candidates that have really thought out how they're going to approach the virtual interview and reached out with questions ahead of time. That's some critical thinking. It's great to see that. And they've treated the virtual interview just the same as if they were actually walking into the building. So definitely a great way to let those soft skills shine. And if you feel like you're not confident in them, then there are ways that you can practice as well for interviews with friends, with colleagues. They're definitely, it's very important to have practice with that kind of soft skill environment.
Yeah, and back to the college reference that I made, career centers most of the time will do mock interviews. And I believe like if you looked up mock interviews online, I'm sure there's some in your community that somebody is putting on. Maybe it's a community college or a different organization. Mock interviews are always a great place to just continue to learn those interview skills.
Right. And I would say that most communities have job resource centers, either career centers or, we have such great resources in our county, and I think most counties do. And they're very underutilized. But if you would go to a career counselor and say, hey, you know what, this is an area that I really need help with, they have the resources to be able to help. They put on career fairs. All of those types of things are great ways to prepare for an interview and to prepare your soft skills for when you actually do obtain a job.
I would add that communication might be the most important soft skill in that process.
Yes.
Because if you're not getting back quickly, giving dates of availability, like there's a lot of communication in the whole process. And you have multiple opportunities to shine your communication skills. And
definitely.
I think
making sure your voicemail is set up. Is that a soft skill?
Yes.
Or empty. I think my voicemail is like always full, which probably is a great thing.
It's not good if you're looking for a job because the recruiter will get frustrated. Like they have so many people to call. And if you can make it easy for them, they're going to be in a better mindset when the interview comes around.
Yeah. And then the last question I have, this one I might throw you off a little bit, Sarah, but it's like an honesty question. I know I didn't set you up for this or anything, but if you had to choose between two candidates, one with stellar soft skills, but maybe not as great technical skills, or one that had terrible soft skills, but really good technical skills, what type of decision, I guess, what's your thought process on, would you hire, maybe not in every case, but in some cases, would you hire the person that has the better soft skills and maybe a little bit less experience on the technical side?
Sarah, you have to give the HR answer.
It depends. Yes, it depends. So, it really does depend, Ian, because, obviously we're looking for the best qualified candidate, and in some situations, soft skills are a qualification. So that would definitely have to be taken into consideration, but obviously the end answer is the best qualified candidate.
Right. Yeah. Somebody with the soft skills and the technical ability.
Right. And the other thing is we do take into consideration that the interview is only one interaction, and people tend to be nervous during the interview. I've very rarely interviewed someone who wasn't at least a little bit nervous. So we take that into consideration as well.
Yeah.
That's why, as Elise mentioned, all those other interactions sometimes can be so important in setting a stage. And, you can say, well, this person was just really very nervous. And I don't know that soft skills are the be all end all determination of whether someone's going to perform well in their position.
Right.
So is that the answer you expected, Ian?
I think the HR answer was good. It depends.
It depends. Yeah.
So position dependent. Like if you have a front office manager or somebody like that, they need those soft skills so much that their job, like, it's going to make such a big impact. If you're looking to fill a position of an engineer that maybe will sit at his computer, especially in this remote environment, and maybe you have to go to one weekly meeting or something, then those technical skills are going to matter a lot more for that position. So it's very position dependent. Yeah,
absolutely. All right. So with that, I'm just going to wrap up this episode. We've gone for about exactly 30 minutes. On the next episode, we are talking about the importance of company culture. So the importance of finding the right company for you, and we'll be taking a look at a few companies that have really great company culture. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe so that you get notifications directly to your inbox. If you're listening on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, or any other platform, follow so that, again, you get notifications about when new episodes are being posted. Thank you, Elise and Sarah, for joining me on this episode of the podcast, and we'll see everybody next time.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Ian.
The Work Awesome podcast is brought to you by Avian. Avian is a 49% employee-owned company founded by retired U.S. Navy test pilots who believe passion and talent are the right traits to get the job done. Avian operates in a culture that thrives on innovation, creativity, and the entrepreneurial spirit. Instead of offering services through mere business transactions, Avian is redefining the government services industry by creating meaningful experiences and connecting talented people with important work. The passion that Avian's employees have for its work builds better partnerships for the future, and Avian's unique talents create real solutions. At Avian, we move fast, take risks, and don't settle for the status quo. To learn more, visit Avian's website at avian.com. That's avian.com.